I stood alone in my wedding dress, my trembling hands clutching a bouquet of white roses. The church was filled with people, but the front row of seats reserved for my family remained empty. Not a single one of them showed up. Not even my father, who had promised with tears in his eyes that he would walk me down the aisle no matter what. As I peered through the crack in the door, I caught a glimpse of my soon-to-be husband, Jack, his face a mixture of concern and love as he scanned the crowd looking for any sign of my relatives. In that moment, I made a decision that would change everything about the relationship with my family forever. I grew up in Riverdale, a small Midwestern town where everyone knew each other. We were a close-knit family, at least on the surface. My dad, Thomas, worked as a construction manager, often telling us that everything he did was for his two beautiful daughters. He was the one who taught me to ride a bike, who cheered the loudest at my high school graduation, and who promised to always be there for me. My mom, Linda, was a kindergarten teacher, nurturing by profession and nature, though she had a tendency to avoid conflict at any cost, often sacrificing her own needs or opinions to keep everyone happy. Then there was my younger sister, Stephanie, 3 years my junior at 27. From the moment she was born, she became the center of our family universe. She was the one with the infectious laugh, the outgoing personality, and the uncanny ability to wrap everyone, especially our parents, around her little finger. I loved her fiercely, but I always felt like I was standing in her shadow, the responsible older sister who never quite measured up to her vibrancy. I met Jack during my sophomore year of college. He was in my psychology class, and we bonded over coffee study sessions that gradually turned into dinner dates. After graduation, we moved to the same city, both landing jobs. We loved me in marketing and him in architectural design. After 5 years together, he proposed during a weekend trip to Lake Michigan, and I was certain I had never been happier. Planning the wedding was a whirlwind of excitement. We set the date for June 15th, giving ourselves a full year to arrange everything. I called my mom immediately after setting the date, making sure it worked for everyone in the family before putting down deposits. "That sounds perfect, honey," my mom had said. "Your father and I will help however we can." I always put my family first. When Stephanie needed a place to stay after college graduation, I let her crash in my tiny apartment for 6 months. When Dad had back surgery, I took 2 weeks off work to help out at home. When Mom organized family reunions, I was the one who arrived early to set up and stayed late to clean. That was just how I was raised to believe that family came before everything else. 6 months before the wedding, my sister dropped a bombshell at Sunday dinner. "I have some news," Stephanie announced, her face glowing as she held hands with her boyfriend Todd, whom she had only been dating for 3 months. "We're pregnant." The table erupted in celebration. Dad opened champagne for everyone except Stephanie, of course. Mom immediately started talking about nursery themes and baby names. No one seemed concerned about the hasty timeline or the fact that Todd and Stephanie barely knew each other. It was simply accepted as wonderful news. "I am so happy for you," I told my sister, sincerely hugging her tight. And I was. Despite the twinge of sadness I felt as my wedding suddenly became the second most exciting family event of the year. As the months passed, Stephanie's pregnancy dominated every family conversation. My wedding became an afterthought, a brief topic at the end of calls, after lengthy discussions about morning sickness, ultrasound appointments, and baby registry items. Still, I remained supportive, accompanying Stephanie to maternity shopping and helping her research childcare options even as my own wedding to-do list grew longer. "It will all balance out," Jack reassured me one night as I vented my frustrations. "Your family loves you. They're just excited about the baby right now." I nodded, wanting desperately to believe him. But a small voice inside me whispered that things had always been this way, that I had always been the one expected to understand, to give, to accommodate. I pushed that voice aside, focusing instead on the joy of marrying the man I loved. Jack's family was incredibly supportive throughout our wedding planning. His mom, Carol, called weekly to check in. His dad, Robert, offered to handle the rehearsal dinner entirely, and his sister Amanda flew in twice from Seattle just to help with dress fittings and venue visits. "You Williamsons know how to make a girl feel special," I told Jack after a particularly lovely dinner with his parents. "They adore you," he said. "Almost as much as I do." The contrast between our families grew more apparent as the wedding approached. My bridal shower, organized by Jack's mom and my maid of honor, Tara, was a beautiful afternoon tea at a local garden. My mother and sister arrived 45 minutes late, missing the opening toast and gift presentation. "Sorry we're late, my mom," said, kissing my cheek. "Stephanie wasn't feeling well, and you know how it is with the pregnancy." They left an hour early, too, citing Stephanie's exhaustion. As they were leaving, I overheard my mother telling Carol about all the cute baby clothes they had bought that morning. They had been late because of a shopping trip, not morning sickness. 2 months before the wedding, I met my dad for lunch, just the two of us. It had been his idea, which was unusual enough to make me both excited and nervous. "How are you holding up, Gracie girl?" he asked, using my childhood nickname. "Honestly, a little overwhelmed," I admitted. "There's still so much to do, and I feel like I'm doing most of it alone." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I know we've been distracted with Stephanie's news. Your mom's first grandchild, you know how she gets." "I know, Dad, but I want you to know that your wedding day is special to me," he continued, his eyes serious. "And I promise you, come hell or high water, I will be there to walk you down that aisle. Nothing could keep me away from that." His words brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you, Daddy. That's what fathers do," he said simply. "We show up for our daughters." Those words would come back to haunt me later, but in that moment they were exactly what I needed to hear. I left lunch feeling reassured that despite everything, my father at least understood how important this day was to me. 2 weeks before the wedding, Mom insisted on a special family dinner. "One last time together before everything changes," she said. I assumed she meant before I became a married woman, but I soon discovered that wasn't what she meant at all. We were halfway through dessert when Stephanie cleared her throat, "So I have news about the baby." Everyone turned to her expectantly. "Todd and I have decided on a date for the baby shower," she announced. "We're having it on June 15th. The fork in my hand clattered onto my plate. June 15th. That's my wedding day. Stephanie had the grace to look slightly embarrassed, but she pushed on. "I know, but it's the only weekend that works for Todd's family. They're coming from California, and his sister can only get that weekend off work." "But it's my wedding day," I repeated, unable to process what was happening. "Honey," my mother began in her soothing voice, "is there any way you and Jack could move your date just by a week or two?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Mom, everything is booked and paid for. We have guests coming from out of state. We can't just change the date 2 weeks before." "Well, Stephanie can't change the baby's timeline," my father chimed in, "and the shower needs to happen before she gets too far along." "But why that exact day? Why not the day after or the weekend after?" I looked from face to face, seeking any sign of understanding. "It's complicated," Stephanie sighed, rubbing her belly, which had barely begun to show. "Todd's family has their annual reunion the next weekend, and the weekend after that is too close to my 3rd trimester for comfort. So, you're all going to miss my wedding?" I asked, my voice rising despite my best efforts to stay calm. "The wedding we've been planning for a year." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Finally, my mother spoke. "We're trying to figure out how to make both work. Maybe we could split up. Your father and I could go to different events, or perhaps attend your ceremony and then go to the shower." Her voice trailed off as she saw the expression on my face. I felt physically ill, like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. "I need some air," I said, standing abruptly. Jack, who had been silent throughout this exchange, stood with me. "Take your time," my father said, as if he was being generous. "We'll all figure this out together." Outside, I burst into tears while Jack held me. "They can't really be considering this," I sobbed. "They can't miss our wedding for a baby shower that could be held literally any other day. It's ridiculous." Jack agreed, anger evident in his voice. "Do you want me to go back in there and say something?" I shook my head. "No. This is something I need to handle with my family." After composing myself, I went back inside. "I understand that Stephanie's pregnancy is important," I said firmly. "But I'm only getting married once. I've spent a year planning this day. I cannot and will not change the date, and I expect my family to be there." The tension in the room was palpable, but no one explicitly said they wouldn't come. As we left that night, my stomach was in knots. For the first time, I found myself wondering if my family would actually choose a baby shower over my wedding day. The week before my wedding was supposed to be filled with last-minute details, final fittings, and the joy of anticipation. Instead, it became a series of increasingly painful conversations as I desperately tried to confirm whether my family would actually show up. I called my mother first, hoping for reassurance. "Mom, I need to know if you'll be at the wedding," I said directly. "Oh, Gracie," she sighed. "I'm in such a difficult position. Stephanie needs me for the shower, but of course, I want to be at your wedding too." "It shouldn't be a difficult position at all," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I'm your daughter. It's my wedding day." "I know, sweetie. Let me talk to your father again and see what we can work out." Next, I called my Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, who had always been close to me. "I was actually going to call you," she said awkwardly. "Stephanie sent out invitations for her shower, and I noticed it's the same day as your wedding. Is that right?" "Yes," I confirmed. "She scheduled it 2 weeks ago, knowing full well it was my wedding day." "Oh, Gracie," she said, echoing my mother. "What a mess. I don't know what to do. I already told Stephanie I would help host, since I'm throwing in for the catering." "So you're choosing her shower over my wedding?" I asked bluntly. "I wouldn't put it that way," she hedged. "It's just with the baby coming and all." One by one, I called my relatives, and one by one they offered excuses, hesitation, and vague promises to try to make it to both. Only my cousin Taylor was direct. "That's messed up, Gracie," she said when I explained the situation. "Of course I'm coming to your wedding. A baby shower can happen any time." My last call was to my father. Despite everything, I still believed he would keep his promise to walk me down the aisle. "Dad, please tell me you'll be at my wedding," I said, not bothering to hide the desperation in my voice. "Gracie girl, you know I want to be there," he said, his voice heavy. "I'm trying to figure out how to do both." "Both, Dad, you promised me. You specifically said you would walk me down the aisle no matter what." "And I meant it at the time," he said. "But things are complicated now. Your sister needs support too. She scheduled her shower on my wedding day on purpose." I said, the realization crystallizing as I spoke. She knew exactly what she was doing. "Now that's not fair," my father said, his voice taking on an edge. "Stephanie wouldn't do that. She's just excited about her baby." "Dad, please. Just tell me you'll be there." "I'll do my best," he said. "That's all I can promise right now." That weekend, Jack and I had our bachelor and bachelorette parties. Mine was a spa day followed by dinner and dancing organized by my maid of honor, Tara. I tried to enjoy myself, but my phone kept lighting up with texts from my family, all about Stephanie's shower preparations. "Mom wants to know if we should use the blue or green tablecloths for the shower," one text from Stephanie read. As if I cared about tablecloths for an event I wouldn't even be attending on my wedding day. The final blow came during the rehearsal dinner. We had reserved a private room at our favorite restaurant with place settings for 30 people, but when the time came, only 14 chairs were filled. None of my immediate family had shown up. "Traffic must be bad," Jack's mother suggested kindly, but we all knew that wasn't the reason. I called my father repeatedly throughout the evening, but he didn't answer. At 11:30 that night, as Jack and I were saying goodbye before separating for our last night as single people, my phone finally rang. "Dad," I answered immediately. "Gracie, I'm sorry to do this," he began, and my heart sank. "But I can't make it tomorrow. Stephanie is really counting on me to help with the shower, and I just can't disappoint her." "But you can disappoint me," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "You're stronger, Gracie. You always have been. And you have Jack and his family. Stephanie needs us right now. I need you too, Dad. I need my father to walk me down the aisle." "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I really am. I hope someday you'll understand." The call ended, and I stood there staring at my phone in disbelief. Jack wrapped his arms around me as I sobbed against his chest. "They're not coming," I managed between gasps. "None of them. Not even my dad." "I'm so sorry, Gracie," he said, holding me tight. "So incredibly sorry. What am I going to do? Who's going to walk me down the aisle?" Jack pulled back slightly, looking into my eyes. "You can walk by yourself proudly and beautifully, or I'll walk with you, or my dad will. Whatever you want, we'll make it happen. This doesn't change us, Gracie. Tomorrow we're getting married, and it's going to be perfect because we'll be together." His words were a lifeline, but they couldn't completely erase the pain of knowing that on what should be the happiest day of my life, my own family had chosen to abandon me. I woke up on my wedding day to the cheerful pinging of my phone. Half asleep, I reached for it, hoping against hope that perhaps my family had changed their minds. Instead, my social media feeds were flooded with photos of Stephanie's baby shower preparations. My mother posting about the special day ahead with a picture of baby-themed decorations. My aunt sharing her excitement for the newest addition to our family. Even my father had posted something he rarely did, showing off the balloon arch he had apparently stayed up late to construct for the shower. Not a single message acknowledging that it was also my wedding day. It was as if I had ceased to exist. "Turn that thing off," Tara said, taking the phone from my hands. She had stayed over in my hotel room along with my 2 other bridesmaids, Hannah and Jess. "Today is about you and Jack, and we're not going to let anything ruin it." The girls surrounded me with love and support as we got ready. Jack's mom, Carol, stopped by with coffee and pastries, giving me a long hug. "I want you to know that Robert and I couldn't be prouder to have you joining our family today," she said, her eyes warm. "And if there's anything you need, anything at all, we're here for you." The hair and makeup artists arrived, and for a few hours I was able to lose myself in the preparations. The photographer captured beautiful shots of us laughing, helping each other with jewelry, and toasting with mimosas. But when it came time to put on my dress, the absence of my mother hit me hard. "I always thought she would be the one to help me with this," I said softly, as Tara and Hannah carefully lifted the gown. "I know," Tara replied, squeezing my hand. "But we've got you." The ceremony was scheduled for 4 o'clock. At 3:30, we were in the bridal suite of the church when the wedding coordinator knocked on the door. "Gracie, it's time to line up. Do you know who will be walking you down the aisle?" the pastor is asking. Reality came crashing back. In all the activity of the morning, I had managed to push aside the fact that my father wasn't coming. Now, 30 minutes before I was supposed to get married, I felt the full weight of his absence. "I need a minute," I choked out, rushing into the adjoining bathroom. I locked the door behind me and finally allowed myself to break down sobs, racking my body as I clutched the marble countertop for support. There was a gentle knock on the door. "Gracie, it's me," Jack's voice. "You're not supposed to see me before the ceremony," I said through my tears. "I don't care about that. Let me in, please." I unlocked the door, and there he was, my soon-to-be husband, looking handsome in his suit, his face etched with concern. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I know this isn't how you pictured today." "They really didn't come," I whispered. "Not a single one of them." "How could they do this?" Jack took my hands in his. "I don't know. But what I do know is that there's a church full of people out there who did come. People who love us and want to celebrate with us. And most importantly, I'm here. I will always be here, Gracie, no matter what." I looked into his eyes and saw nothing but love and sincerity. In that moment, I made a decision. "I'm going to walk myself down the aisle," I said firmly. "Are you sure my dad offered to escort you?" "I'm sure. This is my wedding day, and I'm going to hold my head high and walk toward my future, which is you." Jack smiled, touching my cheek gently. "That's my brave girl. I'll be waiting at the altar, counting every second until you're my wife." After he left, I repaired my makeup with help from my bridesmaids. When the coordinator returned, I told her my plan. "I'll be walking myself down the aisle," I said with newfound confidence. The ceremony began. I waited in the vestibule as my bridesmaids proceeded one by one. Then the wedding march started, the doors opened wide, and all eyes turned to me. I took a deep breath and began my solitary walk. The first few steps were the hardest, but as I moved forward, something shifted inside me. There was sadness, yes, but also a powerful sense of independence and strength. I was choosing my path literally and figuratively. Jack's face as I approached was a mixture of awe, love, and pride. When I reached him, he whispered, "You are the most beautiful, bravest woman I have ever known." The ceremony was perfect in its simplicity. We exchanged vows we had written ourselves, promising to support each other through life's joys and challenges. When the pastor pronounced us husband and wife, the church erupted in genuine celebration. The reception was held at a charming restored barn on the outskirts of town. Jack's family had gone above and beyond to make sure everything was perfect. His father gave a touching toast, welcoming me to the family with open arms. Friends from every stage of our lives filled the dance floor. There was laughter, there were tears of joy, and there was so much love surrounding us that the absence of my family, while still painful, didn't define the day. Late that night, as Jack and I slow danced under twinkling lights, I realized something important. Family isn't just about blood relation. It's about who shows up for you, who celebrates your joys and comforts you in your sorrows. Looking around at the people who had come to witness our union, I felt incredibly blessed. Before we left the reception, I checked my phone one last time. No missed calls, no messages from my parents or sister. It was as if they existed in a parallel universe where this monumental day in my life simply hadn't happened. "Ready to go, Mrs. Bennet?" Jack asked, using my new married name for the first time. I slipped my phone into my purse and took his hand. "More than ready, Mr. Bennet." As we drove away amid a shower of rose petals and well wishes, I made a silent promise to myself. This day had taught me something valuable about my worth and about standing up for myself. It was a lesson I wouldn't forget. The morning after our wedding, Jack and I were scheduled to leave for our honeymoon, a 2-week trip to Hawaii. We had an afternoon flight, giving us time for a leisurely breakfast and last-minute packing. "How are you feeling today?" Jack asked gently as we shared coffee in our hotel room. It was a loaded question. I was elated to be his wife, still riding the high of our beautiful ceremony and reception. Yet underneath that joy ran a current of hurt so deep it felt physical, like a bruise on my heart. "Mixed," I answered honestly. "So happy about us, but sad about your family," he finished for me. "It's okay to feel both things at once, you know." I nodded, grateful for his understanding. I keep checking my phone, thinking maybe one of them would have reached out by now. A congratulations text, an apology, anything. Nothing. Just more baby shower photos on social media. It's like my wedding didn't even happen in their world. Jack squeezed my hand. "Their loss, Gracie. Truly." As we were finishing our packing, I received an email notification. Our wedding photographer had worked through the night to send us a preview collection of images. "A little gift for your honeymoon," she wrote. We sat side by side on the bed, scrolling through the photos. Despite everything, they were breathtaking. The love between Jack and me radiated from every frame. There were beautiful shots of our first dance, the cake cutting and candid moments with friends. Then I saw it. The photo that made my breath catch. It was me walking down the aisle alone. The photographer had captured the exact moment I had stepped through the church doors, my face a complex mixture of vulnerability and determination. You could see the empty front row of seats where my family should have been, but you could also see the straight set of my shoulders, the way I clutched my bouquet with purpose. In the background, slightly blurred but still visible, was Jack waiting at the altar, looking at me with such pure love that it seemed to illuminate the entire church. "This one," I whispered. "It's powerful," Jack agreed. "You look like a warrior bride." I studied the image for a long time, emotions swirling within me. Then I opened Instagram and uploaded the photo. My finger hovered over the caption field as I considered what to say. Finally, I wrote, "Yesterday I married the love of my life. I walked myself down the aisle because my father, who promised he would be there, chose to attend my sister's baby shower instead. Not a single member of my family came to my wedding. The seats reserved for them remained empty. But as I took that solitary walk, I realized something important. Sometimes the family you're born into fails you, but the family you choose lifts you up. Thank you to everyone who showed up, who celebrated with us, who filled our day with love. And to those who didn't come, I hope the baby shower was worth it." I tagged my parents, my sister, and several other family members who had chosen the shower over the wedding. Then, before I could overthink it, I hit share and put my phone away. "Are you sure about that?" Jack asked, concerned. "I'm sure," I replied. "I'm done pretending everything is fine. They made their choice public by plastering the baby shower all over social media. Now everyone can know about my day too." We finished packing and headed to the airport. The flight to Hawaii was 6 hours long, and as per Jack's suggestion, I put my phone in airplane mode, deciding to disconnect from the world for a while and focus on enjoying the beginning of our marriage. It wasn't until we landed in Maui 6 hours later that I turned my phone back on. Immediately it began to buzz, continuously, notifications flooding the screen faster than I could process them. 37 missed calls, 62 text messages, hundreds of Instagram notifications. My post had, in the parlance of social media, gone viral among our community. I scrolled through the texts first. There were messages from my father. "Gracie, please call me. We need to talk." What you posted was very unfair. You're embarrassing the family. This isn't like you airing private matters publicly. From my mother. I can't believe you would do this to your sister. Please take that post down immediately. People are calling us asking questions. Your father is very upset. From Stephanie. How could you ruin my baby shower like this? So selfish of you to make this all about you. I didn't force anyone to come to my shower instead of your wedding. But there were other messages too. From my cousin Taylor. I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself. Love you and Jack. From my Uncle Dave, my father's brother. I had no idea the shower and wedding were the same day. Your dad told me you had changed your date. I would have been there, kiddo. From several extended family members expressing shock and dismay at what had happened. From high school friends and college roommates offering support. The Instagram comments were overwhelming, most of them supportive of me expressing disbelief that my family would miss my wedding for a baby shower. Jack, I said, showing him my phone. I think I just blew up my entire family. He looked at the flood of notifications and whistled low. Looks like people have opinions. What do I do now? Nothing, he said firmly. We're on our honeymoon. Your family made their choice. You shared your truth, and now we're going to spend 2 weeks enjoying paradise and each other. Whatever fallout there is can wait until we get back. He was right. I silenced my phone, keeping it on only for emergencies, and immersed myself in the beauty of Hawaii and the joy of being newlyweds. We hiked to waterfalls, snorkeled in crystal-clear waters, watched the sunrise from a volcano, and made love in our beachfront bungalow. For 2 weeks, I existed in a bubble of happiness, pushing thoughts of my family to the periphery. But as our return flight approached, anxiety began to creep back in. I couldn't ignore reality forever. My Instagram post had forced a confrontation that was long overdue, and now I would have to face the consequences. The night before we left Hawaii, I finally looked at my phone properly. The missed calls had increased to over 100. The text messages had multiplied. There were emails, voicemails, direct messages on every platform. My family was in full panic mode, not because they regretted missing my wedding, but because I had made their absence public. They're more upset about looking bad than about actually being bad, I told Jack, as I showed him some of the messages. Are you surprised? He asked gently. I thought about it. No, I admitted. I'm not surprised at all. And that's the saddest part. We returned home on a Sunday afternoon, tanned, rested, and bracing for whatever storm awaited us. I had finally responded to my parents with a brief message saying I would meet them the following day at their house. I specified that I wanted all of us there, my parents, Stephanie, and Todd. Do you want me to come with you? Jack asked as I prepared to leave for my parents' house the next day. No, I said, though the thought of facing them alone made my stomach churn. This is something I need to do by myself. I'll be right here waiting when you get back, he promised, kissing me goodbye. The drive to my childhood home felt surreal. I had made this journey countless times before, but never with such a sense of dread and determination. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed all the cars were already there. Everyone was waiting for me. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and walked in without knocking. The tension in the living room was palpable. My mother sat rigid on the edge of the sofa. My father paced by the window. Stephanie was curled defensively in an armchair with Todd awkwardly perched on the arm beside her. Gracie? My mother began immediately, her voice high and tight. Thank goodness you're here. We've been so worried. Worried, I repeated, remaining standing. About what exactly? About you, of course, she said, as if it were obvious. That posts the things people are saying. It's not like you to create such drama. I didn't create the drama, I said calmly. I just refused to hide it. My father stopped pacing to face me. Do you have any idea what you've done? People are calling us terrible parents. Your mother can barely show her face at work. The judgment from everyone. I simply told the truth, I interrupted. That not a single member of my immediate family attended my wedding because you all chose to go to a baby shower instead. Are you saying that's not what happened? You're twisting things. Stephanie interjected her hand protectively over her now visibly pregnant belly, making it sound like we deliberately tried to hurt you. Didn't you? I asked, looking directly at her. You scheduled your shower on my wedding day when you could have picked literally any other day. It was the only day that worked for everyone. She insisted the same excuse she'd been giving for weeks. Everyone except me, I pointed out. And apparently that didn't matter. Of course it mattered, my mother, said her voice pleading. We tried to find a solution that would work for everyone. No, you tried to find a solution that would work for Stephanie, I corrected her. You even asked me to move my wedding date 2 weeks before the ceremony. We were in an impossible position, my father said defensively. No, Dad, you weren't. You were in a very simple position. Your daughter was getting married. You promised to walk her down the aisle. Then you chose not to. There's nothing impossible about it. It was a choice. The room fell silent for a moment. Look, Todd spoke up, surprising everyone. I feel partially responsible here. If I had known this would cause such a rift, I would have insisted we pick another date for the shower. Stephanie shot him a look that could have frozen lava. It's not your fault, Todd, I said. You weren't the one making the decisions. Can we please just move forward? My mother pleaded. What's done is done. We can't change the past. You're right, we can't, I agreed. But before we can move forward, I need you all to understand something. I pulled out my phone and opened a recording app. I want to play you something. I pressed play, and the voice of my Aunt Susan filled the room. Gracie, I had no idea your wedding and the shower were the same day until it was too late. Your mother told me you were fine with it, that you had worked everything out as a family. I played another recording, this one from my father's cousin Jim Thomas told us you had postponed the wedding because of some issue with the venue. If I had known, I never would have missed it. One by one, I played recordings from relatives and family friends who had approached Jack's family at the reception, expressing confusion about why my immediate family wasn't there or who had contacted me after seeing my Instagram post. Each one revealed the same thing: my family had deliberately misled people about the situation. You didn't just miss my wedding, I said, as the last recording ended. You lied to everyone about why. You created a fiction where I was fine with all of this, where some of you even claimed my wedding date had changed. My mother had gone pale. My father couldn't meet my eyes. That's why people are angry, I continued. Not because I posted something dramatic on social media, but because the truth came out. You weren't in an impossible situation. You made a clear choice to prioritize Stephanie, as you always have, and then you lied to cover it up. That's not fair. Stephanie began, tears welling in her eyes. You've always been jealous of me, of the attention I get, and now you're trying to turn everyone against me during my pregnancy. This isn't about jealousy, I said firmly. This is about respect and being treated like I matter. For my entire life, I've adjusted my needs and wants to accommodate this family. I've been understanding, supportive, and patient. And the one single day that should have been about me, you couldn't give me that. We made a mistake, my father finally admitted, his voice breaking. A terrible mistake. Yes, you did, I agreed. And I'm not sure I can forgive it. At least not yet. What are you saying? My mother asked, her face stricken. I'm saying that from now on, things are going to be different. I'm not going to pretend everything is okay when it's not. I'm not going to accept being an afterthought in my own family. And I'm going to need time and space to decide what kind of relationship I want with all of you moving forward. But we're family, my mother protested. Family should lift each other up, not tear each other down, I said. Family should celebrate each other's important moments, not deliberately sabotage them. What you all did wasn't family behavior. I stood up, feeling surprisingly calm. I'm going home now to my husband. When you're ready to really talk about this, to acknowledge what happened and why it was wrong without excuses or deflection, then we can start to rebuild. Until then, I need some distance. Gracie, please, my father began, but I held up my hand. I've said what I came to say. Ball's in your court now. As I walked out the door, I heard my mother start to sob and Stephanie saying something in a heated voice. But I didn't turn back. For perhaps the first time in my life, I was putting myself first, and it felt both terrifying and necessary. Jack was waiting for me at home as promised. How did it go? He asked as I walked through the door. Honestly, better than I expected, I said. I said what I needed to say. I set boundaries. And now we wait to see if they can respect them. He pulled me into a hug. I'm so proud of you. That night as we lay in bed, I felt a strange sense of peace, The confrontation hadn't fixed everything, far from it. But it had been an important first step toward either healing my family relationships or accepting their limitations. Either way, I knew I would be okay. 3 months after our wedding, Jack and I had settled into a comfortable rhythm as newlyweds. Our apartment was filled with framed wedding photos, honeymoon, souvenirs, and the everyday items that make a house a home. Life was good, even though the situation with my family remained complicated. After our confrontation, I had maintained limited contact with them. Occasional text messages with my mother, a brief phone call with my father on his birthday, but nothing substantial. Stephanie had given me radio silence, which was actually a relief. I needed the space to process everything without the pressure of forced reconciliation. One of the unexpected outcomes of my Instagram post was the strengthening of relationships with extended family members. My cousin Taylor and I had become closer than ever, meeting for weekly coffee dates. My Uncle Dave made a point of inviting Jack and me to family events, creating a buffer between us and my immediate family while still keeping us connected to the larger family circle. I had also started seeing a therapist, Dr. Martinez, who specialized in family trauma. Our weekly sessions had become a lifeline as I navigated my complex emotions. Families often fall into patterns that can persist for generations, she explained during one session. What you did was break that pattern, which is incredibly difficult and brave. It doesn't always feel brave, I admitted. Sometimes it just feels sad. That's natural. You're grieving the family relationship you wished you had. That grief is valid and important. Working through that grief was a process. There were days when I felt strong and certain in my decisions, and others when I questioned everything. Jack was my constant, supporting me through the ups and downs without judgment. 4 months after the wedding, I received a letter in the mail. Not an email or text, but an actual handwritten letter from my father. With trembling hands, I opened it. "My dearest Gracie," it began. "I have started this letter 100 times searching for the right words. But perhaps there are no right words for how profoundly I have failed you. So I will simply speak from my heart. I was wrong. Completely, utterly wrong to miss your wedding. Wrong to break my promise to walk you down the aisle. Wrong to prioritize Stephanie's baby shower. Wrong to lie to family members about it. Just wrong in every way that a father can be wrong. There is no excuse I can offer that would justify my actions. I could tell you about how I've always struggled to balance attention between you and your sister. I could explain how your mother and I fell into the trap of giving more to the child who demanded more while taking for granted the one who seemed self-sufficient. I could talk about the pressure I felt from all sides. But none of that matters, because in the end I made a choice that hurt you deeply on what should have been one of the happiest days of your life. I saw the photo you posted. You walking alone down the aisle. My beautiful, strong, independent daughter taking that walk without her father by her side. The space where I should have been empty. It broke me, Gracie. As it should have. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not sure I deserve it. But I want you to know that I am truly, deeply sorry. I am getting help to understand why I've made the choices I have as a father, and how I can do better if you ever give me the chance. I love you, Gracie girl. I have always loved you, even when my actions failed to show it. If you're willing, I would like to begin the long process of earning back your trust, at your pace, on your terms. With all my heart, Dad. Tears streamed down my face as I finished reading. It wasn't a perfect letter, but it was honest. And for the first time, my father was taking full responsibility without making excuses or trying to minimize what had happened. I showed the letter to Jack that evening. "What do you think?" I asked after he read it. "I think it's a start," he said carefully. "A genuine one. But it's up to you whether it's enough to begin rebuilding." I thought about it for several days before responding. Finally, I called my father. "I got your letter," I said, when he answered, his voice cautious and hopeful. "I meant every word," he replied. "I believe you," I said, "and I'm willing to try. Slowly, that's all I can ask for." We agreed to meet for coffee the following week, just the two of us. It was awkward at first, both of us tiptoeing around raw emotions, but gradually the conversation deepened. He told me about the counseling he'd started both individually and with my mother. I shared insights from my own therapy. We didn't solve everything in that one meeting, but it was a beginning. My mother reached out next, asking if I would be willing to join them for a family therapy session. I agreed with the stipulation that Jack would come with me for support. I realize now how much we've taken you for granted, my mother admitted during that difficult but productive session. How we've always expected you to be the understanding one, the one who gives in. It wasn't fair. Stephanie's baby girl, my niece Clara, was born in September. Despite our strained relationship, I sent a gift and a card. A week after the birth, I received a text from Stephanie that surprised me. Clara would like to meet her Aunt Gracie if you're willing. It was the closest thing to an olive branch she had offered. I arranged to visit when Todd would be at work, wanting to keep the initial reunion as simple as possible. Sitting in Stephanie's living room, holding the tiny bundle that was my niece, I felt a complicated mix of emotions. She's beautiful, I said sincerely. Thank you, Stephanie replied, watching me carefully. After a pause, she added, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about how I've always expected to be the center of attention. I looked up, surprised by her candor. Having Clara has made me see things differently, she continued. I keep imagining her grown up and how devastated I would be if someone hurt her the way we hurt you. I don't want to teach her that it's okay to treat people that way, especially family. It wasn't a direct apology, but from Stephanie it was significant. I appreciate that, I said. She's lucky to have a mom who wants to learn and grow. I am sorry, Gracie, she said, finally, her voice small. About the wedding. About everything. I nodded, not quite ready to say I forgive you, but acknowledging her apology. One step at a time, I said, and she seemed to understand. 6 months after our wedding, my parents invited Jack and me to dinner. It was the first time all of us would be together since our confrontation. I was nervous, but Jack squeezed my hand reassuringly as we knocked on the door. My father opened it, his face lighting up when he saw us. Come in, he said warmly. The dinner was not perfect. There were moments of tension, old patterns threatening to resurface. But there was also laughter, genuine conversation, and most importantly, respect. My parents made a visible effort to ask about our lives, to listen without interrupting, to acknowledge our feelings. After dessert, my father clinked his glass and stood up. I'd like to make a toast, he said, his voice slightly shaky. To Gracie and Jack. I wasn't there on your wedding day, a failure that will haunt me forever. But I want you both to know that I see your marriage. I honor it, and I promise to support it in every way I can from this day forward. Better late than never, I hope. Tears welled in my eyes as I raised my glass. To second chances, I said. Over the next few months, our family slowly knit itself back together. Not into the same pattern as before, but into something new, something healthier. My parents continued their therapy. I maintained my boundaries. Stephanie and I developed a different kind of relationship, less competitive and more supportive. For our 1-year anniversary, Jack and I planned a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant. But when we arrived, we were led to a private room where a surprise awaited us. Our friends were there, Jack's family, and to my amazement, my family too. The room was decorated like a miniature wedding reception, complete with a small tiered cake. What is all this? I asked, turning to Jack. Don't look at me, he said, smiling. This was their idea. My father stepped forward. We can't undo the past, he said. We can't give you back your wedding day, but we can celebrate your marriage now, all of us together. Think of it as a do-over. My mother came to stand beside him. We are so proud of the woman you are, Gracie. And we are so sorry for every time we made you feel less important or less loved than you are. Even Stephanie, holding baby Clara, added sincerely, You deserved better. We want to do better. As Jack and I cut the anniversary cake, surrounded by the people who loved us, I reflected on the journey of the past year. It had been painful, messy, and difficult, but it had also been transformative. I had learned that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. That true family supports and celebrates you, even when it's inconvenient. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but it can mean moving forward. And most importantly, that it's never too late to break harmful patterns and create healthier ones. As I looked around the room at the family I was born into, and the family I had chosen, I felt a sense of peace. The empty chairs at my wedding had taught me one of life's most valuable lessons. Sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself with family members, even when it was painful? I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you the courage to always honor your own worth, even when it's difficult.